Today, I will be reviewing Twitchy Molten Chocolate Lava. Now, if you haven't had that before, if you don't know what the brand name is, it's our coffee imperial stout, 9.25%. We call it Twitchy because usually I drink way too much coffee, especially in the mid-late afternoon. If I'm drinking too much coffee without eating, I get a little twitchy. I know people sensitive to coffee, they'll get twitchy. That's why we called this series by that name, Twitchy. So we are using, in this one, Pro Coffee's right up the street, like 5 minutes away, their coffee beans, which they use molten chocolate lava. So they'll prep the beans with the flavors, we'll get the beans, and then we'll use them after fermentation. Now, a little history behind this beer. 4.182 on Untapped, which is very respectable. We brewed this in the Valley for the first time, maybe 3 years ago. And the first time we brewed it, we usually our Twitchy beers, it's just coffee beans. We don't do anything else to it. It's just the coffee beans and the flavor that comes with the coffee beans. But for this one, I mean, it's called Molten Chocolate Lava, so it better be chocolatey. So in that first batch in the Valley that we were testing, we added cocoa nibs too. And usually with both cocoa nibs and coffee, we use 2 pounds per barrel. So on this size, at about 45 barrels, we're using 90 pounds of coffee beans and 90 pounds of cocoa nibs. It came out beautifully in the Valley, so awesome. We scaled it up last year, pretty much at the identical timeline. It got released early February. And I drank it, and I was evaluating, I'm like, something's missing. And it was because I forgot the cocoa nibs to include in the scale-up recipe. My fault. I couldn't believe I made that mistake, but it was its first release in the distribution, so most people didn't even taste the Valley version. And with all of those reviews on top of the small amount of Valley's version, it's 4.182. So you loved it regardless of my screw up. This time I made a note, and we are evaluating old recipes, all of them, with little notes that we scribble, do this, don't do that, and going forward, making optimizations. So we remembered the cocoa nibs this time, and it just elevated it more. The first scale up wasn't bad at all. I mean, look what you guys rated it, but this one is next level. So the process for this beer, this is our carbon black base, if you're familiar with that beer. Pilsner malt, chocolate, roasted barley, crystal 40, 80, and 120 to give it those dextrins of body. And after it ferments, and we chill it, we get it cold and clear. We add the coffee beans and the cocoa nibs to our hop back, which is this big sealed vessel with a strainer on the bottom. Pull beer in, let it sit for a day, push it to the fermenter, pull new beer in, sit for the day, push it back to the fermenter, and we do that a third time. Usually 3 days really doesn't. And I remember this right after the beaning, this particular one, it was like coffee chocolate. I mean, it was hot on coffee, but usually that's kind of what we've been doing, because after we make it, after we bean it, you know, the coffee is going to start fading. So after it starts hitting the shelves, it's sitting out warm, depending on what retailer has it, the coffee is going to start degrading. So I'm starting the coffee up here, by the time it gets to the shelves, it's minimized and it's kind of even with the cocoa nib chocolate flavors. So that's what we're going for. And if you like coffee, remember, get this thing as fresh as you can. It's releasing this Friday. What's going to be different about this review is, for the first time, I believe, is I've got the 2021 version right here, I know. So we've got a little mini vertical going on, and I've said in other reviews that, you know, you're going to start losing the coffee after 3 to 5 months, and then it's barely going to be there because you don't really want to sit on coffee beers. So we can test that theory. I did not know this was in the cooler up until a few minutes ago. I looked for it last week as right before we were canned, and I did want to compare it, but I couldn't find it. But somebody must have pulled it out. And we usually keep a couple of 4-packs of everything we can. We put them on a warm shelf, and then we put a couple of 4-packs on a cold shelf, and we just let them sit. So when there is a problem or we want to do a comparison, we have the older batches. And that has helped us identify things, how flavors change over time, how hops change over time. So it's been very useful, you know, from a laboratory point of view. So enough with me running my mouth. Let's open up the 2021 version. Coffee, I'm getting the coffee right now. It didn't take more than a second to go from the glass to my nose. All right, 2021, no, 2022. All right, we've got the 2021, last year's. There we go. Very coffee forward. See, I got to get out of the fumes of that one. I'm getting more of an aged, maybe not coffee, maybe just more just stout, just a stout that's been aged on this one. Now I'm actually going to have the 2021 version first, because I've got a fresh palate right now. I don't want this one, making this one taste like water. The chocolate's really shining through now that the coffee has lessened for the 2021 version a year ago. Definitely sweeter than a regular stout. You get that coffee a little bit. Definitely not on the nose, maybe on the flavor. Still a super solid beer. Nothing wrong with it. It's not oxidized or anything like that. No, this year's version. Aroma-wise, night and day. Still coffee forward. And that's going to level off. Coffee's going to come down. Let the chocolate shine through. Another week or two. And it'll be in its prime for about the next 3 months, I imagine. So, a delicious beer being released this weekend. Food pairings, barbecue beef, Szechuan dishes. This is good to cut the heat. It's not thick like our pastry stouts, but it's definitely got some body to it. And cheese pairing, buttery, well-aged cheddar. And that is this review. We hope to see it.